Well, hello there, everybody. Welcome back to Gooner Gathering. That was a pleasant surprise. That wasn't the normal 30-second countdown, was it?
I was going to say that was new music, wasn't it?
I know. Where did that come from? I have no idea where that came from.
I thought I was on hold to the bank.
Exactly. But it's good to have you here. Welcome back to Gooner Gathering. We are live. We haven't been live in a good amount of time for a lot of reasons. I have to say, half-term week hasn't been particularly kind to me and my family. And work's been extremely busy. But we are live now, and I am privileged and honoured to be joined by Arsenal Domination's Dom Palmer. How are you, sir?
Yeah, good, mate. Obviously Arsenal have been disappointing, but other than that, can't overly complain. Like you, half term's never easy, to find the time and what have you. But I also feel in my age, having played a bit of football, and picked up a few knocks. But I'm here. We're all good.
Tell me all about your knocks, because I never had a chance to talk to you about that. On True Gooner. I said last time we spoke, apart from our off air, I came on as a last minute sort of blood substitution for you on True Gooner. Tell everybody what happened.
Well, we kept our first clean sheet of the season. I play at the back. But yeah, I got two-footed by someone, and in fairness, he slipped, which is why it was.
Right.
I did as I sort of looked down, see his far foot buckle under him, which is what caused him slip, which is why it was a two-footer. But he caught me right in the hip, and I played on. And by the time I got home, I had blood pouring into my shin pad. Not from that one, but from where I fell, because I then fell onto his boot, which is what cut my knee open. And then this week I I played on. I played the full match. I was having a game of my life. I wasn't coming off. And then this week, I took one to the face, which caused my nose to carry on bleeding for several hours after the game. But
not the face. You're a YouTuber.
I know. Thankfully, the face isn't the money, right? But I made an error with 3-2 up with a minute to go, and I lost the ball at the back trying to be clever. And I was like, I've got to win this ball back, no question. I've managed to get back, make a last-ditch tackle to save the shot coming in, and the striker bundled into me, and but I fell quite hard onto a 3G pitch and bruised my hip, and that, because I'm not as young as I used to be, that is hurting now. But it is what it is. Both. It's good fun. That's the main thing. But yeah, no, I was late for that podcast last Monday because I literally had my wife was kitchen roll required to cut for the trail of blood that was across the kitchen floor.
Oh my God! I was happy to be there for you, mate. I could do what I could for you. Right, let's get into business here. So we haven't on Gooner Gathering, and we are dual broadcasting here, by the way. We're on Dom's channel, Arsenal Domination. Please give him a subscribe. He's a fantastic guy. And if you haven't seen it already, check out the video he put on about Arsenal's finances. It was very interesting and very well put together the other day.
That's very kind of you to say, Lee. How much do I owe you?
Just put it on the slate. All right. So just on my end, Gooner Gathering, we have not really covered much since basically pre-Leicester City. So I want to briefly jump into that. Before I do so, I do want to say hello to Luke Chapman, regular in the chat. He's probably wondering where Posh Bertie is, to be fair. But Luke says, Northampton Town, I'm proud to be sky is blue. City lights don't bother me. The market square is cobblestones. Shake the old deer to the bone. The River Nine goes winding through. That's poetry. That is. It's great to have the Northampton Town fan, Luke, in the chat as always. Thank you very much.
This is a joke, and there's no way to not be rude with this joke, but it's the only way I can make it work. I think that's a bunch of old cobblers.
Sorry,
Luke. That was a Northampton Town pun. I apologise.
I enjoyed it. Right. Let's get into the serious business, shall we? So I'll briefly want to sum up my thoughts on Leicester City. yes, we won the game, and Mikel Merino came on as substitute for Raheem Sterling, who was having an absolute Western supermare. Um, and he managed to score a couple of goals. Um, Papered over a few cracks, but we won the game. Fair assessment. I quite liked Marino's header for the first goal. I really enjoyed his finish for the second. Have you got anything you wanted to add on the Leicester game? That's me
No,
briefly summing it up in about
I mean,
30 seconds.
it was a while ago now, and I think you're
Yeah,
absolutely right. And I think the converse was true. We'll come on to it, I'm sure, in a second at West Ham.
yeah,
Um, and I think sums up the fact that to get through this period, we're going to have to do a variety of things and hope that
yeah,
some of it sticks, and it's not always going to. I think the only other thing you'd say on that game was how good that piece of defending was from Miles Lewis-Skelly at
yeah,
0-0. That goes in. I think that game goes away of West Ham, right? And that was terrific. And we might well cover what he did wrong on West Ham, but he's a young kid. But that piece of
yeah.
defending against Leicester was quality.
Absolutely was, absolutely was, and we managed to scrape 3 points there. Wasn't so good on Saturday, was it? And West Ham and oh Christ, his name's escaped me. Manager.
Jared Bowen. Graham Potter.
That's right, Harry Potter's twin. Had the spell over Arsenal again. He seems to do it all the time. I don't think anyone's got quite a record against Arsenal at the Emirates that he does. Yeah, we come a long way short. I felt on Saturday. I'm not even sure we created a half decent chance. To be fair, Dom. Yeah, go on.
Oh no, I was just going to agree with you. I don't think we did. I mean, it doesn't help when you haven't got a number 9 up front. I mean, people say Havertz isn't a number 9. I think he is these days for sure. He's just a different type of number 9 to your stereotypical number 9. Moreno
Yeah.
obviously isn't that, and I'm sure we can discuss why that might be later. I think the thing I'd criticise him for was that he probably didn't get high enough at times. He was too deep defending because that's of course what he would normally do.
Yeah.
But I think the big problem was, and we've seen it consistently, it's my big criticism of Arteta this season, is that inability to create because we're too conservative when things aren't quite going how we envision them going forward. And I think that lack of I mean, I heard someone else say this, I can't remember who it was, but said we could have had the world's best forward up front and we still wouldn't have scored because we weren't creating anything. And I'm quite surprised, or we could probably discuss Forrest later, that Forrest haven't replicated that 3 at the back to sort of cut out the main threat that Marino would offer with the balls into the box. Because, West Ham, I think we could have thrown a million balls into that box on Saturday and we wouldn't have scored because West Ham defend that so well.
My thoughts were kind of obviously with the Leicester City game. Now Marino came on as a bit of a surprise to play on as a forward, and because he scored a couple of goals, was it a little bit predictable that we'd go Marino up top again? I went on record and I did say I probably would do it because it make sense, because obviously it's the guy that scored a couple of goals, and Raheem, let's be fair, has had a really tough time of late. But because West Ham might have had that time to prepare for, maybe if you think about the first goal against Leicester, that the cross came in, the aerial ability that came in for him to score that first goal, maybe they could prepare for that a little bit better, and maybe that was a little bit detrimental to us setting up with Marino.
Possibly. I mean, what I didn't know until after the game was West Ham have only conceded 4 goals from crosses this season. And I felt, if I'm honest, I was looking, my thoughts on Arsenal attacking wise, and this goes for tonight as well as the last 2 games, is you're down to the bare bones. And I think Arsenal have to take some responsibility for that, just to be clear. But we are now where we are, and there's nothing we can do about it until the summer. Until the injuries come back. But, I think where we are in a position, though, is that is what it is. And we're going to have to try a variety of things. Some are going to work and some aren't. And what works in one game might not work in the other game. I, too, advocated going Moreno up front against West Ham. And I can see why we're going Moreno up front again. I think Trossard is best on the left. I said he should start against Leicester because he was the only recognised or only player that had played number 9 before. But I think you could see him struggle there, and then you saw him how much he improved on the left, and I think he is best off the left.
Yeah.
So I think your choices tonight are either change formation entirely, but you're still going to need a focal point. And I think that means your focal point, you're probably down to Raheem if you want to play Trossard on the left. I think in a change of system, you can probably play Trossard up front if you go three at the back. But let's assume we've gone 4-3-3 tonight.
I thought about three against three at the back as well.
And I think we're going to have to do that.
Work.
I think we're going to have to do that at times during games. You're going to have to switch and move in formations. But you've got Moreno or Sterling pretty much as your options if you're, in the 4-3-3. And I think Sterling is the other option that you have. I also would have gone Moreno, and I'm not surprised to see us go Moreno again tonight. But of course, it's a risk because, the last 10 minutes against Leicester is very different from starting against West Ham. But I also think the argument for Moreno would be he's the most similar in profile to Kai Havertz, which is, of course, how we've been used to playing all season, which is big physical presence, will sort of, I don't think he's as effective as pressing, but he will press. He's not afraid of that defensive work. He will probably naturally drop deep and make a later run into the box. And therefore, he's the most natural replacement. Raheem Sterling, probably can do that, but he's not so physical. And and same with Trossard. So I can sort of see why Moreno is there. But I think, the answer for Arsenal to get through the next few games, and it is a question of getting through the next few games. And I understand the argument that we shouldn't be here fully, but we are. Is you're going, if that doesn't work, you're going to have a plan B, C, and D, and it probably means that you're going to have to take the shackles off slightly. And throw more players forward. And I thought that's where Calafiori, and I know Miles Lewis-Skelly was sent off against West Ham, so you couldn't necessarily see the late sort of charge so much, although Rea did his best, is Calafiori actually, his positive running forward actually did make a big difference in that game. But that might be the type of thing you have to go, do you know what, Calafiori, you're playing left back, but I'd rather you prioritise attacking than defending tonight, and we're just going to hope that Gabriel can cover you. It's going to have to be that sort of thing.
You've got to look at all sorts of options there, haven't you? I'll give you another sort of option. I just want to hear your thoughts on it because it has been brought up a little bit on Twitter. The option, he's on the bench tonight again, Butler Odeji, who is basically the standout under 23 player. Obviously, played 30 seconds basically without touching the ball in the Champions League. A lot of people are saying, well, why don't you give this kid a chance?
I can see that logic. I think, reality is you can't play Trossard, Ranieri all the way through. That is another option that needs to be considered. I think if I'm playing him, I'm probably switching to a 4-4-2 with someone up there with him. Emerson, amongst others on this channel, will know better than I on his ability. I think he has been the outstanding attacking player in the under-23s, but I think given the fact we've had other players come through or leave, I don't think the quality is quite what it was, say, last season in the under-23. So he's the best, but is that quality quite Premier League level? I think probably not in his case. And I'm not basing that on his poor loan spell, because I think that can happen. Gyökeres, for instance, at Brighton wasn't exactly a success, and he's banging them in for Sporting now. So it doesn't always mean that you're going to be a failure just because you went out on loan as a youngster. Harry Kane at Leyton Orient, for instance, wasn't exactly a success. England's
relatively late. It was relatively late coming in at Tottenham, wasn't he, to be fair?
Yeah, exactly.
And that can happen.
But I think he's going to need to play, right? Because, we can't play these guys all the way through. But as you say, it can happen. You're spot on.
Thank you very much.
What are your thoughts on him playing?
I think I want to see more game time with him. I don't necessarily see him as a starter at the moment. I would like to see him play more Premier League minutes. He has actually been the outstanding player in the youth ranks, but here's the thing: he is 22 years old, and that is relatively a long way down the line for someone to come in from the youth team. Do you understand what I mean? Not saying he hasn't got a chance, but it's a case of a heck of a risk. If he was Premier talent, shall I say? Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah,
He might have come through it earlier, uh, but like you said, we have got what we have at the moment, and he is an option. He's on the bench tonight. Um, all we can do is see what happens. I will say, at least for tonight, it's good to see at least Ethan has made it, because he did come off near the end of the game against West Ham with a bit of cramp. At least Ethan is out there tonight. So basically, we've got Ethan Nwari, Trossard, and Moreno up top. The only change actually from the starting 11 is Jorginho in the side for Thomas Partey.
I'm laughing because I looked at the predicted 11. I said it will be unchanged bar Calafiori. I said, but I was saying the only other change might be Jorginho for Partey, but I actually went with Partey, so I'm kicking myself. But on Wanyeri, I think, it's good that he's out tonight, because I think he was a creative spark against Leicester. Obviously, didn't work against West Ham, which speaks to what we were talking about earlier in the season, right? Which is you're going to have ups and downs with him. Same with Miles Lewis-Skelly, excellent against Leicester, sent off against West Ham. But we need, but also we need to be careful of his body, which is where I think Butler Ajayi, at least at 22, well, I agree with you. I don't think he's Premier League. I don't think he's going to be Premier League. I don't think he's going to be that player, right? I mean, he might be, as we were saying, Harry Kane, late developer. I'm not saying he's going to be Harry Kane, but Jamie Vardy came into the league very late. But I think
look at the career he's still having over at Leicester.
Yeah, exactly. And don't get me wrong, I don't think that's going to be Butler Ajayi, but you never know. But at least physically, he should be able to handle it a little bit better, because his body's that bit more developed. And that's why I think he's going to need minutes in this period of time while we wait for Saka and Martinelli's return.
Yeah, absolutely fair point. Absolutely fair point. I better get your thoughts over the goal that went against us. Of course, Emerson Crozier has just joined us in the chat. Hello, mate. It's nice. It's nice to have you on the live. Good to see you, mate. Hope you're doing okay.
We mentioned his name and he appears.
Fancy that. Say his name. Right, let me get myself focused again, because I need to talk about Jared Bowen's goal. Came just right before half time. I can see you're almost like that, and I was too when it went in. Do you want to talk about it, Dom? And what could we have done? Well, you're live, pal, mate. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, of course. Yeah, you have to mention all these things. I mean,
of course.
We switched off entirely for the defending. Yeah. I mean, you can't leave him free like that. It was a bad moment defensively for Arsenal. I think when you're struggling for attacking options, you need to be near perfect in defence. And I think this side is a really good defensive side. I've heard some rubbish about the fact, the side is awful defensively. So it's not, right? Yeah. It really is. It's still a very, very good side. What I think you do is you when you're less offensively good this season, which comes back to the conservative point, we're winning 1-0 and trying to hang on. Actually, you're inviting the pressure more, and you're increasing the chance of your defence to make a mistake. That's where I would say Mikel Arteta needs to improve. And I think that's got to be his big learning lesson from this season. And you can talk about, should a 5-year manager still be learning? Well, it's still only his 5th year as a manager ever, right? So he's still going to be learning. And actually, I think the best managers learn every season and still, look to improve on what they got wrong the previous season. You should never, ever stop learning. But I would get that criticism, but he has that increases the chance of the defenders making a mistake. And I think when you're less capable going forward, as we have been this season, I think largely due to injuries, but to just be clear, we should have added an attacker, more so in January than the summer, but I did say it after the summer, we needed an attacker.
Yeah.
I rail against the narrative that the summer was a shambles, but it was an attack and light.
You've been consistent on that, Dom, to be fair, mate.
Well, it has been known occasionally. But I'll change my mind when I can see something has changed.
Right.
And I think that's as it should be. I think you should recognise that, that's the case. But, that aside, when you're missing your best players offensively, and we're missing our starting front three at the moment entirely, then actually teams are going to be less afraid to attack you. So then when you sit deeper, they're going to throw even more forward, knowing that you're less likely to hurt them forward, and that increases the defensive mistakes. So it's all sort of a snowball effect, similar with the injuries. The more injuries you get, the more you have to play players through, the more you increase the chance of injuries, right? But it wasn't a good moment. It was a horrific moment, but and you just look at it with your head in your hands, as I'm sure Mikel did. But I don't think that means the defence is a shambles overnight or anything like that. But that was a bad moment. I don't think anyone can cover themselves in glory with the way that goal was scored from an Arsenal perspective.
Absolutely, completely agree. It wasn't a great moment by anybody. Was a tough night at the office, to be honest with you.
Well, it was a tough watch.
And when you're talking about the highlight of the game, seeing Raya going up for a corner and go and making a recovery tackle and playing the pass to Odegaard like he did, wasn't a great watch, was it?
When that's your best moment in the game, you know it's not been a good night, right? I mean, there is no positive coming out of the game. You know, Miles Lewis-Skelly sent off, rightly so, deservedly so. I know people are talking about fouling the build-up, but, you know,
yeah,
maybe. But even so, he's the last man for me. He's got to go. You know, I think that and possibly the Saliba red card against Bournemouth, my view is that ball was going away. But, you know, they're the two red cards I can't overly criticise. I can't criticise the referee for. I think it's a judgment call if they're the last man, and I think it's an understandable one made. I don't think it would have made a difference if he was on the pitch till the end of the game, to be honest. I don't think we were scoring. And that comes, and I think Arteta rightly got praise against Leicester from me for making a change and them working. I think he got the changes wrong against West Ham and they didn't work. But I also think that's symptomatic of he got lucky against Leicester, unlucky against West Ham. But his lack of options means he is, to use the analogy, he's throwing mud against the wall and hoping it sticks because that's what we're down to.
Yeah, absolutely right. And you talk about the subs. Lewis-Skelly comes on as sub against the Hammers. I think he lasted about 15, 20 minutes. I do want to point out, this is something I have just learned in the last couple of seconds. It is a one-match ban. So Lewis-Skelly sits out tonight against Forrest. He will be back in the next round of Premier League games, I believe. If my brain is activating correctly, do we not have this weekend off, and then we are into Champions League football?
Yeah, it's this weekend off because it's FA Cup, PSV, and then it's I think it's Manchester United next, isn't it?
I think you might be right. So yes, that sounds right. And we'll get into the other changes in a bit. So in terms of the Lewis-Skelly red card, absolutely no question for me. It was a red card because it was quite clear that the tackle was made and there was a lot of pitch in front of him with not a lot of people around there, around the body. So,
of course, it was a conspiracy theory, Lee, of course, because they had to get revenge for the Michael Oliver one.
Right.
That's a joke, by the way. I have actually seen that narrative. It wasn't. He was the last man and he's got to go. There's no question. Conspiracy theory nonsense is not something I subscribe to. I'm sorry.
I have to point out, I say things as I see it, and I've always been like that on my channel. And you know what? I've been accused of all sorts of things over the last 1.5, 2 weeks about accepting failure and all sorts of rubbish from people that I don't really want to know, to be honest with you. But when it comes down to it, I felt Lewis-Skelly made the tackle. It was a rash tackle from a young man. I'm not going to absolutely slate him for him because he was clearly trying to win the ball. He was trying to win the tackle. He's got it wrong, but he was punished, and obviously it meant that we were one substitution down, and he was set. And then of course it made the game like 3 times as tough for Mikel to get back into it.
Absolutely spot on. And the FA have realised that, you know, or the Premier League have realised that it was a genuine tackle that he got wrong and he had to go because they didn't deem it a serious foul play or anything like that might have carried a more serious ban. It was a tackle to, you know, win the ball and he's the last man and he's off. It's what happens when you're an adult. It's a learning point for him. But players, when you're a defender at some point, that's likely to happen in your career. You're likely to mistime a tackle and chances are you'll be the last man at some point when you do and you'll go.
Yeah, the positive I see out of that, it's only a one-match ban, so at least he'll be back for Old Trafford. the only slight other positive I want to throw at it, of course, he's available again tonight. Ben White came back on the pitch for about 5 minutes, and in that time that he had on the pitch, he did have a shot that, although he hit it a bit rash and it went well wide, at least he did something in the game. We're going to need Ben. We've missed him, haven't we? We've missed the. There's a lot of things I want to say here, because Ben had been pretty much for about 2 years or so, maybe more, has been the first choice right back like for forever. And then he's had this long period out, and of course it's meant that Timber, after his ACL injury, has played literally almost every single game. We are going to need Ben more than ever here in this run in, whatever it's going to equate to. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think Ben White's future here probably lies as, a bit of a rotation with Timber. And I think when Ben White is fit, he needs to run a 3 or 4 games starting, because one of my concerns, and it's one of the reasons why, well, I didn't want it. I understood the party right back decision was Timber's coming back off an ACL this season from last year, and we know that is of quite often a concern for players, that they go and cause another injury going forward. And I have been worried about that for some time with Yuri and Timber. So Ben White's return is definitely welcome news. And him, Odegaard and Saka just have that telepathy down the right-hand side, which I think is impacting our attack quite badly, because I think Yuri and Timber is a really good player. I think Ben White's ability on the overlap is something we're missing, and I'd like to see you and Timber get forward slightly more and sort of replicate that slightly more, because I think he's got the ability to do it. But I think getting you and Timber now a rest is going to be really crucial. We're talking about workload here, and that's going to be really important for him. But I think you and Timber's done brilliantly well. But I think, it's emblematic of the season in many ways that you're down to your 4th choice right back having to play 6, 7, 8, 10 appearances at right back. I don't know what it's been, including substitutes. That's not what you want to be, but such is the way the season has gone, and there are many reasons behind that. Some in the club's control, I think many beyond it. And I, like you, have been accused of accepting failure. Has the season been a failure? Yes, because I thought we were going to win the league this season, and I felt we're capable of winning the league. However, sometimes these things just happen, and it's not entirely within the club's control. I think where you could blame the club, and this is where I've been consistent, that conservative point I spoke earlier, I think we should and could have added in January. I think there were players within the budget we had, and the budget was limited. I've done that. I worked down the finance, and I wasn't far off, and that has been backed up by journalists saying that actually Arsenal weren't able to go much beyond the Ollie Watkins bid, maybe 5 to 7 million beyond. I said 50 million. That takes 52, 53 million pounds was the budget to be FP compliant. I think there are things they could have done. You could argue that we could have rotated more in previous years. But I also look at that and go, do you know what? Arsenal, the desire from fans, rightly, was we get up here. So to do that, you need to play your best players to get there. Your squad, when you're down here, is not going to be so strong. We talk about failed signings like Pablo Mari, etc., etc. Yeah, they're not great signings.
That's a name I haven't heard in a while.
Right, but when you're buying a backup left-sided centre back to be your 4th choice centre back, and you're 8th in the league, that's the level you're going to get. When you're buying a 4th choice back centre half, when you're going for the Premier League, you're probably looking at Jakub Kiwior. Now, you could argue both aren't good enough, but Kiwior is an upgrade on Mari, right? And that's the way it's going to go. And are you going to win or not win the league? You're not going to win the league with Pablo Mari or Jakub Kiwior as your starter. But are you going to get the results you need to get there playing Pablo Mari? No, you're not. So you play Saka. I know they're different positions, but you're going to overplay those players and increase the workload. But also, the best players do genuinely want to play. Rodri plays almost every minute for City. Haaland plays almost every minute for City. Salah plays almost every minute for Liverpool. So does Trent. So does Virgil. And the amount of football you're playing is going to increase that. But you look at that, and it's all a snowball effect. Oh my
goodness! I've just seen some breaking news out of the other camp. Obviously, our title rivals, Liverpool versus Newcastle United tonight. Yeah, you've just seen it too.
I mean, it sums up how everything's
He's
gone their
missed
way
his-
this season, isn't it?
He's missed his train. Isaac's out of the game tonight, lads. Oh dear. I can't believe it. Oh
I'm,
no.
I mean, we were talking about this off air, actually. We were
Mm.
talking about Liverpool, right? And I think we
Yeah,
should mention it. I mean, I'll sort of sum up what I said, and feel free to chip in. I think Liverpool have done really, really well this season, no question.
absolutely.
Arne
Yeah.
Slot has come in and has taken over from Klopp really, really effectively. And it shows that if you do change a manager, it can work. But we've also seen that you can change a manager and it goes drastically wrong. There are plenty of examples of that around the league. For Liverpool, though, this season, everything has gone their way. Both their title rivals have basically been decimated by injury and have made mistakes of their own. Salah has been on fire all season. He's still responsible for something like 72% of their goals, either as a goal or assist. It's something mental like that. And they have been pretty much injury free. So while I think they've been good, and while I think Slaughter's done an excellent job and he deserves his flowers, I am taking absolutely nothing away from him. They've also had all of those things go their way. And sometimes that can just happen and you can be there. 2 years ago, everyone was saying, is Klopp finished at Liverpool? They finished fifth. No, Klopp was never finished at Liverpool. That was never the case. They just had their defence decimated. And they lost a whole load of points and finished fifth. And this everything, and again tonight they're gonna face Newcastle with no Isak.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
There's two things I want to say. First of all, hello, Miss Molina. I'll get back to you in just a second. The thing with Liverpool and Slot, and I hear people really high profile YouTubers going like, "Oh, what phase is he in?" And let's remember where Slot has actually come in. So you've got a manager in Klopp that actually was really in charge of a really excellent Liverpool side anyway, who's stepped away from the job through his own choice, and Slot has just come in and he's had a couple of his own players, and they've been outstanding. That's my view of it.
Yep, I agree. I mean, they also didn't do anything in the transfer window.
Certainly not the January one. Yeah.
Or the summer. Their player they bought in the summer was on loan for the entire season. It was a backup goalkeeper or a new goalkeeper.
Right.
But he's done really, really well. He has, but he's also had everything go his way. But you're exactly right. He inherited a squad that was capable of challenging for the title. I don't think it was capable of winning the title without something going wrong elsewhere. And again, I gave the areas where I'd criticise Arsenal this season. Yeah. But to win the league, three things have to be true to win every single Premier League title. And Arteta touched on this yesterday, but I've been talking about this for about a week since I did a whole load of research on this. There's one exception, which is Leicester. You have to have the top 5 wages in the league.
Right.
You have to have the top 5 squad value, and I use squad value. If you took transfer fees spent over a 3-year period, then 2 of Alex Ferguson's titles would be included in the not true, because he had, of course, 6 or 7. He had Butt, the Nevilles, Beckham, Giggs, Scholes, and I'm missing some. But I was started with, ironically, because he's always the one I forget. But all came through at once, which of course distorts that.
Yeah,
but in terms of
incredible.
squad value, in terms of, but it's true for squad value. And the third thing is to not to have the 5% lower, top 5 lowest level of injuries in the league across the season. All of them have to be true in 31 out of 32 or 32 out of 33 Premier League seasons. And believe me, that took some digging out for me to go through all of that data to find that. And all of them are true for Liverpool. For Arsenal, 2 of those are true this year. 2 of them were true last year. And that's not saying we shouldn't have done it, but it just gives you an indication that you can do everything right and get that bit of unfortunate luck in terms of injuries and what have you, and it could cost you. And that takes nothing away from any manager when it happens to them. Klopp finishing 5th 2 seasons ago was not a failure in my mind. It was a failure based on the expectation of a season. But, what's he supposed to do? He's playing championship level defenders for significant periods of the game at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. I did say I wanted to get back to Miss Molina, and
it's my fault, Miss Molina.
No. There's a reason I want to talk directly to Miss Melina. It's because I was extremely touched by your video that you put together for Stephen. I don't know, Dom, if you're familiar
No,
with,
please enlighten me.
with Stephen, who was an incredible fighting YouTuber. Who is when I started doing this, and I started knowing a lot of the community around. He was putting broadcasts out from hospital bed. He had
Wow.
a kidney issue, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, Miss Molina. I think kidney liver. He had a serious health issue. Yet he kept on putting out streams about football and Formula One and everything like that. Miss Molina, I was incredibly touched by your video you put out yesterday. I did see it, and yes, just thoughts are with you, and of course Luca AFC, who I know Dom knows. It's Stephen knew Luca very well through their interaction on stream, and that's what's quite nice about doing YouTube. It's you get to know people very well through virtual streams like this, basically, and seeing Stephen's passion about Arsenal Football Club and how he refused to give up and kept on doing his thing is very inspirational. So I hope everyone who knew Stephen is doing really well. And I think it's 2 years since he passed away. So thoughts are with you guys. So yeah.
Lee, thank you for making me aware of that. I wasn't aware of that, Miss Melina. I've just found the video and I've just given it a like and be subscribed.
Yeah.
But I will check that out. In the next day or two. But hoping all is well with all those that knew Stephen. He sounded like he was an incredible young man. I wasn't aware of it until just now, but that's all I can say is thoughts and prayers with anyone that was touched by that. And I agree with the YouTube community. Yourself, Bertie, Josh. It all started with an NFL stream where I sent an email to someone called Tim in America who we've done lots of shows together and had never met until a couple of years ago, where we did an in-person live stream when I flew out to America and we went to a game together. But It's amazing how the community can build, and you can do that. And there's going to be people you're going to like and not like in real life. But it's funny how it can just suddenly open up this world that I'm completely unaware of until you start doing it. But as I say, I will check that out. So thank you for making me aware. And as I say, Miss Melina, I hope you are well and not too upset by by that anniversary. And wishing you all the best.
If nothing else, Stephen was inspirational, and I'm sure that's what Miss Melina is feeling right now, because she's got her own channel and she's fantastic at what she does as well. So
I've literally just subscribed, and I think that's the way you've got to think about it. Is look at the positive and the positive impact I'm sure he will have had on many. Like I say, I didn't know him or wasn't aware of it until just now, but I think that's what's so great about this. So I think it can be, of course, a real good. When used for that purpose, which is, I know, something both of us subscribe to and look to try and do on our respective channels. Mine much newer than yours and much less successful, but hopefully one day I will catch you up.
Well, no, because this is going out on Arsenal domination as well, and I'm sure anyone coming out and watching this on demand will give you a subscribe as well. I'm sure.
But that's unimportant. What's important is that we try and get right information and correct information out there, and try and grow a real positive community. Even if we're being critical of Arsenal, that it's done in a fair and open-minded and respectful way, which is something we both believe in. And it sounds like Stephen did too. And that inspirational thing is just absolutely a real lovely sort of message that I think we should be promoting.
Thank you very much for them words, Dom. I appreciate that, and I must admit, for the first time, I think, on Going to Gathering, I'm getting a little bit choked up. So I'm going to
I like talking, but I did notice. It's why I jumped in and sort of vamped for a little bit, just to give you a moment there. And it's perfectly understandable as well, Lee,
Much appreciated. Much appreciated. So, with that being said, we've basically covered the West Ham game, we should probably look to the game that's going to be kicking off in about 17 minutes, if my timing is about right.
He's just arrived at the ground, by the way, according to Twitter. He's just made it. Press has just turned up.
Jolly good.
I'm following Twitter as well.
Absolutely.
He's top of my timeline at the moment.
So I think it's probably fair to recognise Nottingham Forest's form. Okay, over the last couple of games, as they've not had the best of time, but their season as a whole has been incredible, and they're occupying European positions, which I don't think anyone, no one expected them to be in. They have been, they're thereabouts literally all season. They haven't been beaten at the Forest, the City Ground, I should say, I believe, since October. I'd suggest we've got it all to do tonight, Dom.
Yeah, I mean, they're at full strength. They've been at full strength pretty much all season. Their only injury tonight is their backup goalkeeper. So they've gone with the side that Forest Forums predicted. So well done to them for predicting that and making me look like I knew what I was talking about in a preview earlier.
Right.
I did suggest whether they might go to 3 at the back, as we mentioned earlier, but they've not. They've stuck with their usual system and usual formation, and I think that sort of shows the confidence they will have going into tonight ahead of this game, because Arsenal obviously lacking in options up front is going to be an issue for them. And Forest, as you say, in great form at home. Chris Wood having a career season. Let's not pretend that he's, suddenly going to be a world beater, but this year he's on bang form. Elanga's doing well. Others doing really, really well. They've got some good lads at the back. They're a good side. Do I expect them to keep it up to the end of the season? No. They've lost their last 2. I don't think that's a surprise necessarily. But with the Arsenal injury issues tonight, they will be bang up for this. City Ground will be rocking tonight. And they've got nothing to lose, and that's what makes them so dangerous, because they're not about. Do I think they're the 3rd best side in the Premier League? No. Do I even think they're top 10? No. But it shows what happens when you can keep a side fit and keep playing it. It will make a massive difference. And when you get on a roll and you get momentum, you can just keep going and going and going. And I think this is going to be a tricky game for Arsenal tonight. If I'm Forest, I sit deep in that low to mid block and I hit us on the counter. That's what I look to do, because Arsenal away fans has been fantastic, but they will be roaring us forward, and there will be pressure on Arsenal to go and show that they can score goals tonight. And that's the danger, right? That we set too far forward, leave the space. I spoke about Calafiori getting forward later, a lot. He's going to need to, I think, tonight, to help create an overload and create those extra bodies and stop that conservative narrative, which I think is a justified criticism of Arteta. And that will leave the space at the back. And if I'm Forrest, that's how I play tonight, and that makes them very, very dangerous, because they are a capable side.
Absolutely, they are. Probably important to recognise and remember, of course, that when we played Forest at the Emirates, Chris Wood actually didn't start that game because he just came off international duty, and we might have come a little bit lucky because he was on the bench that day.
Forest didn't play well that day, and we did. I mean, it was 3-0 to Arsenal, and rightly so. I mean, the good news is that I'm looking forward to hearing the commentators tonight to talk about Timber and Wood in the same sentence.
Hey.
It's a bit like when Jesus scored against Pope.
Exactly. I love that. Let's get into the lineups. We mentioned it briefly earlier on. There is one change from the Arsenal lineup, which we
sorry. I preempted you there. That was my bad.
It's the one change from the Arsenal lineup. Jorginho in for Partey. So it's Raya in goal.
It's
Timber.
2 then. Oh no, Miles Skelly was on the bench, wasn't he?
He was on the bench.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah, well done. Yeah, so my mistake.
Look at that. My old brain is working, Dom. So Timber is at right back. Saliba, Gabriel, Calafiori continues at left back. Jorginho, I would imagine, will be the deeper of the midfielders, with Rice, Odegaard, Nwari, Trossard, and Moreno up top. The other change I should talk about is Cabia, who is an attacking player, I believe, if I'm remembering right.
Yeah, he is.
He is alongside Sterling and Butler or Jay that we've already mentioned, of course. Neto, Kivior, White, Zinchenko, Tierney, and Party is on the bench. So I wonder if they are managing Party's game time again, or has he just been dropped because we weren't very good on Saturday? I'm not sure.
I mean, he wasn't great on Saturday either, but I mean,
Nor
I
was anybody else.
exactly what I was going to say, exactly that. You know, and I wonder if it's Jorginho to try and come in and control the midfield. I think you're right. I think Jorginho will be the deep of the two, but I do wonder if there might be a moment where I think it was at Liverpool earlier this season, where he actually played ahead of Declan Rice. And I wonder if we might do that and sort of use Rice's running and physicality to sort of get up and down a bit more.
Maybe.
And use it that way to get an extra player forward. I don't know. I mean, it goes back to what we were saying earlier, right? Which is Arsenal going to have to try a variety of things because we're not got the ability in the forward areas to do it any other way, right? You know,
That's
because
fair.
you know we're just not. We've got so few options, and they're not the best options in the world.
Yeah. Yeah, I do agree with that. Just to go with Forrest, if I butcher any names here, it's because I'm not super, familiar with some of these. Some of them I am.
I'm going to let you have a go at this one because there's one in particular I struggled with.
I can't imagine which one that might be. Sells in goal. Arna Williams, Mekovic, Mulio, Hudson Odoi, Anderson, Gibbs White, Dominguez, Alanga, and Wood is the starting 11. How did I do, Dom?
Not bad. It was Wood I struggled with.
Don't we all at our age? Hey!
I set it up and you brought it home.
Get in there. Their subs are Henderson, the goalkeeper, Murata. I can't think that's the one I'm thinking of. Sangar. On a worry, I'm a little bit wary of. I'm very aware that he scored a few goals against Arsenal in the past over the last couple of years. Moreno, Silva, Yates, I know, scored over the weekend against Newcastle. Sosa and Danilo. I think I've done not too bad, to be honest.
You've not done bad at all there, yeah.
Oh, I'll tell you what, Paul Merson's got nothing on me. When I went off screen, I've just found out that Isaac, by the way, Newcastle versus Liverpool, it's a groin injury, apparently. So he's clearly had a good weekend.
Oh, dear.
That's not PG, is it?
Declan Rice, breaking news, has potentially got an injury in the warm-up.
Oh. Tell me more.
He's taken a strike from Leo Trossard in the midriff in a shooting drill. He's gone to the side. He's been treated. It looks like he'd be all right, but there is a question of whether there might be a late change here, but I suspect not. But
I wonder if we have an extra man amongst the squad. Normally they bring an extra goalkeeper, don't they?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I imagine he'd be on the bench if he is withdrawn, but I can't imagine he's going to be withdrawn. Actually, can you do that if you withdraw him from the starting lineup? Probably not.
Yeah,
no.
absolutely.
But,
I think.
Judging by the description, it sounds like he's going to be okay. But
right. Oh, it's something to see when we kick off in about 8 minutes. Isn't that just typical of how everything has been going?
Yeah.
We've already got 3 forwards out. Let's just take out Declan Rice in the warm up. Brilliant. Yeah. Oh my god.
It's just one of those times, isn't it? Hey, what could possibly go wrong now?
Anything can happen. Is now a good time to ask you for a prediction? How do you think tonight's going to go down, mate?
I have a horrible feeling, by the way, that Trossard or Wanyeri are going to get hurt tonight, and I hope I haven't just spoken into existence, but I've been worrying about that all day. But I think it's going to be 1-1.
1-1 draw. I've been thinking draw all day. We're not in great form. We haven't been playing very well over the last 2 or 3.
And Forrest are a good side at home.
Exactly.
I mean, they're a decent side away from home as well, but
Having said that, Dom, tell everybody as quick as you can, why is it so important that we get the win tonight?
Simply because look, we're going to struggle towards the end of the season until players come back. But finishing in, I know this sounds daft. It's not where we want to be. Definitely not. But we want to be top 4, well, 5 potentially. But I also think it's important psychologically that we finish second. We were talking earlier about Arsenal and the need to how they've actually, well, the injuries have been really annoying and unfortunate. They cope better than other sides, Manchester City being the obvious example. They're nowhere near where they want to be, but it's important we finish as strongly as possible. If we win tonight, we go 9 points clear of Forrest in third. They might drop out of third tonight, depending on how other results go, but that's quite important. And I don't think Forrest will finish third. I think they will drop 2, but you want to keep that buffer up. We lose tonight, Forrest within 3 points of us. And that's why it's important to win tonight from the table. But there's also that psychological thing. Right now, there is a real low around Arsenal. I get it. I understand it. I'm not exactly, loving it right now. But, I think that's the other reason why this is really, really important at Arsenal, particularly with a 6-7 day break to the Champions League. Get this win, get some momentum, and get that positive feeling back, as best we can. It's not going to be fully positive because we're not going to achieve what we want to achieve this season. But that's why, for me, it's important tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's say a good evening to the Saskia Guna. It's a name I'm familiar with, and I know I've seen pop up a few times before. He's asking Emerson about some big youth team games coming up. Off the top of my head, now normally I will go to my phone and say I can tell you the youth team fixtures. I can't at the moment because literally I'm broadcasting off it. But I would imagine the youth team have got the PSV game in the. Have they got that PSV game in the youth Champions League? I'm not sure.
Are we talking under 18s or under 23s here?
Probably under 23s, I would imagine.
I'm just looking up for him now. And hello to him too. Always lovely to have him here and commenting. And you can tell that I'm not very good at talking and looking stuff up at the same time.
I do know we've got a cup game coming up very, very soon against Manchester United. That's for sure.
That'll be tasty.
Absolutely, of course. Return of Obi Martins, who's obviously played a few games, obviously as a substitute for United in the first team.
I got funny enough why Heaven left to Manchester United, but I didn't quite understand why he left. Because I felt the pathway to the first team was harder at United than it was here. I think his was financially driven rather than. Whereas Heaven, I could still see the pathway. It kind of made sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
The under 23 fixtures are not loading for me, so I can't look it up.
So in the under 21s, I've got on the 3rd of March, Arsenal away at Crystal Palace. That is our next fixture. I can see being put on the spot. So I hope that's helpful. And whatever does happen in the youth team ranks under 21s, 23s, under 18s, Emerson is always on top of that, and it will either give me the information or be on the stream himself. It depends on if he's fit and well. I've been covering for him because he's been out of action just for the last little while. So we are about 3 minutes away from kickoff. I'm not going to be doing the live stream for the match because I need to give myself a break. I've literally come in from my day job to put the Gooner Gathering hat on to do the live tonight. So I appreciate everyone who's been watching either live or on demand. I really appreciate Don Palmer from Arsenal Domination for being here for nearly an hour with me. I hope you've enjoyed it. Saskia Guna says, match day live, let's go. City ground, someone step it up. And let's get this passing kicking again. Alanga and CHO. Oh
Callum Hudson-Odoi.
Yeah. Have got that speed. Be careful, Timber and Calafori. Yeah, well, I think we've already said on the
We
stream.
spoke about that. Yeah, that's the risk.
They've got some good players. We're going to have a really tough night. Let's see how we get on. Of course, we are playing on the 7:30 kickoff. Liverpool and Newcastle, I believe, kick off at 8:15, if I'm not mistaken. So yes, she'll see how we all progress and see where we are at the end of tonight. Dom, have you got anything else coming up over this week? Anything you want to plug while we're here?
No, I haven't got anything planned. I think I will probably, I'll probably do a post-match quick 3-minute reaction video tonight. If not first thing tomorrow morning, but normally I'll try and do it in the evening. Otherwise, there'll probably be a video coming out tomorrow and Friday. I don't know what on yet because I tend to make them up and just record them and then see what happens. But yeah, always a pleasure being on here with you. It's always a delight, and good job I was on with you because I forgot, of course, that Calafiori started the last game, not Miles Lewis-Skelly. So I'm used to having the young man at left back.
No worries. It's been a pleasure talking to you, Dom. It's been a pleasure having everybody here with us on the stream. We are going to get out of here because I don't want to miss kickoff. So
no, likewise.
Have a good evening, guys. Let's hope for a good result. Thank you for watching. On your way out, hit that like button. Please make sure you are subscribed to the channel. What do you mean chat's not synced? They should be synced. What are you talking about?
That's a bit worrying.
They should be. I don't know what you're talking about. We are wearing the blue and aqua kit, and we're gold greens in thirds. Okay. I'm going to get out of it because I want to see the kickoff, and I haven't got it in the screen in front of me. So thank you all for watching. Gooner Gathering is out of here, and we'll see you next time. Cheers.